Hello, goeiemorgen, Samorani, Dubelang, and welcome to the Kanjai Dance Pod. Like I said, the place for the cool people, right? I'm your host, Cassidy, and this is where we honor movement, culture, and the creative voices that is shaping our creative scene. Now, today's guest is a legend in the game, Grandmaster on the decks, community builder, and a pioneer of South African hip hop, DJ Ready D. All the way from District 6 to global stages, DJ Ready D has pushed boundaries, uplifted communities, and stayed true to the heart of hip hop. And in this episode, exclusive to Kanjai Dance, we are unpacking his journey, the activism, and the beats, and his legacy. Stay tuned. Grandmaster Ready D, welcome to Kanjai Dance.
Hi there, and thank you so much for the opportunity
Yes.
to be on your podcast and your platforms. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Lady D, this is the place for cool people. This is
Oh.
what, so the
Oh,
yes.
thank you.
So
Is
so
it like a cool way to sit or cool?
yeah, there we go. This is the place for cool.
Okay.
So if you want to dance, eat it gemaakt. You
Sure,
cool.
I made it in life. Thank you so much.
It ends right here. This is it. Okay, Lady D. So Kanye Dance, we excited. I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to be able to just like hear your story and understand how did DJ Ready D become Grandmaster Ready D. Right. So first, just to warm us up a bit, just before we get into the stuff, right? What's one song that just never gets old for you, no matter how many times you spin it on the decks?
Sure, there's a huge amount of music
I
that
can
I
imagine.
usually play. I'm kind of more delved into the underground hip hop vibes, and it's
Okay.
music that's not really commercial within the South African landscape that keeps me going.
Okay.
And one of my favorite underground crews of all time is a crew called Helter Skelter from a very big crew in USA called the Boot Camp Click.
Okay.
So whenever I play the music, I never get tired of it. And it still
Wow.
sounds fresh and relevant up until today.
Wow.
If you hear it for the first time, if you don't know who they are, you'd actually think it's new music.
Seriously, but it's like way back then.
Way back when. The music could be about 25 years old.
Whoa.
And it still sounds relevant and fresh as if it was produced yesterday.
That's actually gevaarlijk because nowadays music, it doesn't actually hit the same. Once it's kind of there, the runs dry.
Correct.
And commercial music and then it's gone. But I mean, that's dope.
Yeah, the thing with the way people produce music these days, in these music production platforms or the apps or whatever you want to call it, the programs, most of them come with sound packs. And they all have the same sound packs. And this is why when the producers just drag in a bass drum, a bass loop, or a full loop or whatever, then everybody raps or sings over the same stuff. The arrangements are the same.
Wow.
And these days, AI can do everything for you as well. And that's why it will sound repetitive.
Yeah.
Whereas our generation and through our era, when we started coming up, we didn't have access to those platforms and also all the luxuries that producers have these days. And you have to have a very, very different way of producing and approaching music.
So that way, I feel like it was actually more intentional with the way, like back then, was more intentional with creating because it came from a real place. Not that today's music doesn't, but it's like the technicalities that you explained now about cutting and pasting and just like repeating the same type of sound. That's what makes it so different from that time.
Definitely the headspace and where we were it was very, very different, and also the technology wasn't as advanced and as accessible as it is these days. So you had to make do with the resources that you had as well. But I don't want to knock the music of today. There's
Of
a lot
course.
of good stuff out
Definitely.
there as well. Everything across all genres, from hip hop, piano, you name it, Afro beats, electro, tech house, trance music, whatever. There's good stuff out there. Yeah.
So it definitely evolved. But Grandmaster, so what is one thing or something that people don't usually or don't actually know about you?
Sure. So probably the one thing that stands out, and my wife keeps pointing it out, and she's usually the backup when it comes to these situations. I think I'm an introvert.
It's giving, yes, you're giving introvert.
Yeah. At large, I'm an introvert, so
Yes.
I don't do well in public spaces
Okay.
if I'm not working there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you prefer your own space. Like your own, actually, your
Yeah, I
own.
think that's just what introverts do. It's not intentional. It's not trying to
That's
be
just
out
you.
there and saying, we think we're better than everyone
That's
else.
just,
or whatever.
yeah.
It's just, I don't
It's
know,
you.
Mother Nature had a way with us. And
True.
we're all different people with different
Yes.
personalities. So,
Yes.
yeah.
True. And I mean, given the fact, the nature of your work, I mean, you even on radio, you have to have this personality on the radio. But actually, inside, I'm not really this think like this person, because I'm like me, I'm actually both.
Okay.
Ambivert and introverted.
Yeah.
Because I do well in social spaces because I can make friends, I can talk to people, but I actually recharge by myself.
Yeah.
Like being outside and talking to people makes me tired. But because of I'm a performer, you have to like be extra, I guess.
Correct. Absolutely.
So
yeah, definitely. I mean, over the years, you learn the skill in
yes.
terms of socializing and the importance thereof as well.
Yes.
And as long as your intent is in the right place as well.
Of course.
If you're going to go out and socialize with the right intention, I think people can sense that energy as well.
Definitely.
But if you're being dragged by your ears or by your arms and forced into a social space, your energy won't be right.
Yes, it won't. You'll just be like, you'll be miserable the whole time. And then...
Correct.
Okay, so now that we know a little bit more about Grandmaster, let's go deeper, okay? Let's go to your early roots and your upbringing. Ons gaan nou terug. So we're gonna just jog a bit, okay? You grew up in District 6, right? And then Mitchell's Plain. What was the energy like back then? And how did it shape your love for hip hop?
Let's go back to District 6. The community that I grew up in the household was driven by music all the time.
Okay.
So I was blessed, to be born in that time and in that era. It was a very interesting time, I would say. And being in a community where there's so much rhythm, music. We had Kuba music, the Klopse.
Yeah.
We had the Cape Malay choirs, we had the Christmas choirs. When it comes to that time of the year, especially leading up to New Year. Yeah. Throughout the course of the year, people's doors were open. Wow. Music blaring out of each house. Yeah. When it was time for supper and leading up to 5:30, 6 o'clock for supper time. Yeah. We were the kids that were playing in the roads, and there was a lot of vibrant energy in the roads. You could smell the food coming out of everybody's houses and the music banging. Yes. And I think we were very lively. It was safe to a huge extent. Not to say that there weren't problems though, because remember that was during the days of apartheid that we grew up in. Yes. So everything that we have at our fingertips these days, such as computers, cell phones, the internet, and all of that didn't exist. Oh. So the lifestyle for youth was very, very different then as well. Yeah. And just District 6 as a space itself. Yeah. I think it had a lot of uniqueness. And this is the reason why we always have a special place in our hearts and we want to be a part of our history and our heritage. Definitely. And there'll always be a deep connection. Even if you're not from District 6, but you hear the stories and you connect with people that's got history from there, automatically, you see yourself being a part of that journey and that story as well. 100%. That sounds amazing. And then how did that, so you grew up there, and then how did that shape your love for hip hop? Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to the music again. So there's a whole long story attached to that. I'm going to skip through the timeline as quickly as I can.
Okay.
Because one day when I do a Grandmaster LED documentary, I'll tell the story.
Yes, can't wait.
In District 6, unfortunately, my dad passed away a few months before we moved out.
Okay.
And on his passing, my sister lived with my aunt in Lansdowne and she came back to live with the family in District 6. She's my older sister and she had older friends that were the cool guys. You know, from Cape Town because they came from Gympie Street up in Woodstock.
Oh.
And they were into music. They brought a batch of records one day. They rolled up in the red and white Impala with a small portable turntable. And in the batch of records that they pulled out on that Saturday afternoon, there was a song called Rapper's Delight.
Hey.
So we're going back to the summer of 1980. So that was my first exposure to hip hop music, not knowing this is going to become, or it is linked to a culture that was huge in the US and not knowing that we are going to be playing such a very important role in that culture. I didn't know that. I could relate to the rhymes because growing up in Cape Town and in District 6, we used to rhyme all the time. All the time we used to rhyme and make fun and, you know, Amodi Rainpies and all of that stuff that we used to do as kids. And I could relate to the music in Rapper's Delight because it's disco music that I grew up with that my dad had in his collection. So that, of course, had a natural pull and a gravitation for me towards music. And that's how I got drawn in. So it was Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Gang. And then the second album in the mix was Curtis Blows the Brakes. So that was my first exposure in 1980. And then being forcefully moved out of District 6 and into Lentegem, which was played. I then met up with a friend of mine that also grew up in District 6. He's now known as the famous DJ Razano. His family was fortunate enough to own a video machine. This is like a video recording machine.
That thing with the cassette?
With the cassettes, the VHS cassettes and Betamax, different formats of hardware or cassettes that you pop into a device and you could record from TV and play back movies through this device.
Like audio?
Audio and video as well.
There's a video version and there's like an audio version.
It plays video and audio at the same time.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a big machine with a whole lot of buttons on it. You then connect it to your television. Yeah. Similar to the way you would a media box these days.
Yeah, like I feel like there used to be like those movie shops.
Yes.
And then they used to have that thingies. It's what's it called? Yes, but like it was a box.
Yes.
Then you put it in this thing.
You could go and hire the video machines or the DVD players, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So that was the early tech back in the day. So those machines played a huge role in the contribution to hip-hop culture from a technological standpoint, because a lot of the videos were recorded from TV. And he shared those videos with us, and he was one of the early, if you want to call it, breakers in 1980, say late 1981. We then ended up at school together. And then I saw him popping and moonwalking. Whoa. And I was like, oh, this is actually freaking cool. Yeah. And then he was like, now come to my house, I'm going to show you some videos. We checked out the videos and I was like, holy Lord, this is freaking amazing. Yeah. And in the beginning, I didn't know that this was going to be something called breaking as far as dance goes. And I saw DJs scratching on the turntables in the video. I saw all these kids breaking. I saw people doing graffiti on the walls and people were just dressed interesting. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a part of this, whatever this is. Because there was just this natural, there was just this natural connection to what I've seen and what I've heard as well. Because growing up as well, we grew up with martial arts movies. At the same
that Chinese movies.
Yes. The Chinese kung fu movies, we used to call it boss karate, where the ones are flying through the air and doing like weird stuff and all of that. So we used to mimic all those things, Bruce Lee and all of that stuff. Yeah. So when I looked at breaking, I thought it was a modern form of martial arts and gymnastics being done to music.
Oh,
That's what I thought it
wow.
was, and this is the reason why we gravitated towards that.
Yes.
So that was my early introduction to hip hop culture when I first took all the elements.
When you were first exposed to it, yes.
Correct. And then we formed our first breaking crew, which was myself, Rosano, and then another dancer from the neighborhood. He was my neighbor. And he became a legendary graffiti artist known as Hoja. So we formed our first breaking crew in 1980-81 called the City Kids.
Whoa!
And we won our first dance competition in Mitchell's Plain Town Center.
Hold on, you were a breaker?
Yeah.
Period. So this is part of. This is part of this now hip hop. You hip hop now basically, like you not cramping, breaking, and you got this influence of the music element. Correct. So this is you now. Wow, that's great.
At the time we didn't know all of the elements work together to form hip hop culture.
Right.
Remember, we in apartheid. There's no free flow of information. Certain music, lots of information, especially from other countries, were banned in South Africa. There was something called cultural boycott, where different countries punished South Africa by implementing a cultural boycott to cut them off from the rest of the world until the government of that time abolished apartheid and the inequalities that people had to suffer during those years. So with the little bits of information and music that came in, we had to put all the pieces together and make do with the bits and pieces as it came along. So we were busy breaking, and we were hip-hop practitioners for about 2 years until it started to appear in the mainstream newspapers that this dance is called breakdancing, and it's a part of a culture in New York called hip-hop culture. And then I was like, in Rapper's Delight, I heard the rappers say hip hop, hip to the hip, the hip, the hop, just all stuff, and I was like, whoa, that's actually interesting. Because I heard the word hip hop in Rapper's Delight, and then I heard certain nuances connected to hip hop culture, music, and dance, and other music that sounded very different. So at that age and at that stage of our lives already, we knew we were different from the millions and millions of people in our country. We moved different, we looked different, the music that we listened to was different. And that was, I would say, our entry point into hip hop. Then more dance competitions started popping up around Cape Town City, especially in Mitchell's Plain. And with these dance competitions popping up, they started to call it breakdance competitions.
Specifically only for that style?
Yeah, but everybody was ignorant about it. We were all learning as we were going along. But the cool thing about that was we then started to realize the same time as we were coming up in hip-hop in Lenteghe and Mitchell's Plain, there was other kids around the city at the same time also coming up. So the dance competitions made us realize there's actually more crews and more people doing this, which was very, very cool.
Yes.
And through those competitions, we then ended up, of course, battling other crews. And you make friends within the environment. And then we started doing a lot of street jams, from Lenteghe to Portlands to Rocklands, and we used to walk with a boombox and our cardboard boxes into all the different areas to go and jam with other crews. And then on Saturdays, we used to take the train from Lenteghe all the way through to Cape Town to go and meet with other crews, to go and battle other crews in town, all during the days of apartheid, until the security and the police used to chase us away from space to space. But we wanted to be out there, and we needed to express ourselves, and we needed to dance and learn. And that's how the culture started to come up. And at these street jams or the street battles, that's also how we exchanged a lot of music via cassette tapes as well. And that was a part of our education and our growth on the streets of Cape Town. So that's the big difference between hip-hop culture in the 80s and the 90s compared to what's happening now.
Yes. Just to talk about how it was when you were in apartheid, like having to, like what you explained now and what you shared now, it's like obviously music played a big role, and in all of this emerging and all that stuff in your personal journey with dance. But how did that impact of apartheid, like what was intense? How did it make you feel? What role did music like really play in that time for you in that political tension period?
Sure. As a child growing up, I didn't really know or understand what apartheid was because our families didn't really talk about it. You knew it.
Yes.
And whenever we used to see white people, we were very fearful of them. And in our communities, it was majority white police that used to walk the streets and stop our parents and stop people looking for a pass. Because remember, you couldn't just walk or go anywhere. You needed what was then called a specific pass, which was then known as a dome pass. So imagine you wanted to go to the waterfront, but because of the color of our skins, they won't allow you into the waterfront unless you had a pass. Or you wanted to go to Lansdowne, or you wanted to go to Constantia. It was that type of situation.
Separate from your ID document.
Separate from the ID, you needed a dome pass to get from one space to the next. And police could stop you at any time and check it. And that was my growing up, because that used to happen to my dad a lot. Because I spent a lot of time with my dad.
Yes.
And there's certain areas and spaces, because we are people of color, that we couldn't go to as well. In the train, we had to sit in the colored compartments.
Yes.
And then there was a section for whites only.
Yeah.
And it was the same with the train station. We had the black and the colored part of the train station.
And then the white.
And the new segment that they revamped at Cape Town at the
train station, yeah.
That was for whites.
So that, because Cape Station is kind of big now.
Yeah.
So that whole section was only reserved for white people.
Yes, the part that goes on to, is it, what's that, Strand Street?
Oh, there.
Adley.
Yes, with the My City buses.
Correct.
Thingies there.
That section was reserved for the whites.
Oh, wow.
And we used to take chances to go break on the white station.
No way.
The floors were cleaner and nicer and smoother. And
taking chances.
Correct. And that's when the cops, the security used to come and chase us. And we ran with the cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
So we took that type of risks. But I mean, that was a parted view.
Yeah.
From that era all the way up until 1986, 87, things became more serious in South Africa, because there was something called the state of emergencies, where there was a complete lockdown. Think of COVID.
Yeah.
We were sent into lockdown.
Yeah.
That is what happened to us. We were put into lockdown. So if they caught you on the streets, you go to jail.
Oh no! For just if you have to go buy bread, like shops,
they
cut you off.
They cut you off. They put you in prison. So we had a situation one night while we were going into lockdown with a state of emergency. Remember the breakdancing competition that we won, which was the town center?
Yeah.
We had a residency by a club called Club Fantasy. So we used to do regular shows there. And we didn't have the means to get to the club, and also the trains didn't run at that time of the night. So we had to walk from Lentegeur past the Beacon Valley all the way up Isaac-Bowman Drive and go to the town center and walk back to our homes as well to go and do the shows. But before I get there, I just want to point out that the state of emergency started to kick in. And one night, please forgive my voice, I'm just recovering from a cold. So I got a slight sniffle.
Same.
So one night, we were walking from my mom's house to the town center. This is our whole crew, a breaking crew.
Mm-hmm. And you guys about how much?
In total we were about 11 members, but on that night we could have been about 7. Going up to do a show, and we had a white kid in our crew as well. So it wasn't favorable to interact with white people.
Of course.
It was regarded as illegal during that time.
Of course.
But we had a white breaker in our crew. His name is Alan, and he became the legendary DJ A-Ski.
Wow.
And during the state of emergencies, they would have military blockades and military checkpoints all over Mitchell's Plain, including our schools. They were standing there with big rifles, guns, vehicles known as Caspers. They're like little versions of tanks. They just didn't have the big gun mounted on, but they were military guns mounted. So at all the different points throughout Cape Town City, they had that. And one night we walked past one of those checkpoints.
Yeah.
They then stopped us and they were like, "But you guys are not supposed to be on the road. This is lockdown, state of emergency." We were trying to explain to them, that we're dancers and we do this, and they didn't understand what breakdancing or hip hop was.
Yeah.
And they had the guns pointed at us, and they actually forced the white dancer to break dance on the tar and to spin on his knees until his knees bled.
For what?
Just because.
Just because they felt that they had the power.
Correct.
Yeah.
A similar incident happened to Ramon. I'm not sure if you know the legendary Ramon.
Yes.
A judge who was a part of Prophets of the City and all of that. He was in a crew. Separate incident. They also caught us one night in Lentige as well. Forced him to dance and he had to do head spins on the top as well. On the top. So that was some of the things that we had to endure during the days of apartheid. Hip hop music started to shift from a party type of music into what was become known as black consciousness music during that time in the US. And as we got those tapes, we could also relate to that because those things were happening to us in the real time.
Yes.
They were rapping about it, but we were living it. So if you want to draw comparisons, at least get a picture or a sense of what happened, think of what is happening in Palestine and Gaza now.
Sure.
It's not as extreme as that where people, places and homes are getting bombed, but when you think about military checkpoints, you can take some of what you see today and you can actually put that
into context
and where we are at now.
That's insane. And so, for what are you standing with these things for people who just want to live their life? You want to do all of this, but I guess that was the laws back then, and you somehow navigated through it, and like you and your crew, like anything could have happened that day, particularly, with they just because they were in power, they could have done anything.
Absolutely.
But I think your drive and your hunger, your passion was it was so powerful that to the point that you guys made it past that, and you're still who you are today, even more than. So let's do Prophets of the City.
Okay.
What was the heart behind starting this group?
The reason why Prophets of the City came to be was the fact that after all these 3 jams, we managed to find a space where we could jam inside or keep it indoors. Friends of ours from Lentige introduced us to this club called Teasers. Unfortunately, Teasers today is a strip club.
Near Teasers.
It wasn't a strip club.
Okay. That time it was a normal.
It was a let's say it was a left field club, something that we didn't know as young boys growing up. Because our cultures were very separate and segregated, but we didn't know that people and kids of our communities were actually dancing at those types of clubs.
Wow.
So Teasers was a club that practically catered for punk rock culture and reggae culture. And there was a lot of white people and white kids that danced at that club.
So what type of dancing were they doing? Especially now with the white kids at the time.
At that time, there was something called New Wave music, and New Wave came with a look and a feel. And it was like think of Madonna's voguing.
Yes, that vibe.
Very, very scaled down, not as intricate as that. It was like this New Wave type of vibes. I would say people should go back and research and check out some 80s music videos.
Right,
and have a look at the vibe and the energy then. Then of course the punk rockers had their own way of dancing as well. Because they had the mohawks, they had spikes through their nose, they had big spiky earrings, and they had spiked jackets and boots and all these things. And I didn't know that so-called colored kids were into the punk rock scene. My mind was blown. I didn't even know our friends went to that as well. So on Saturday, they would dress up in black eyeliner, looked a little bit emo.
So guys and girls were.
They were very. Let's say they were very different. We couldn't relate in the beginning. But when we went into the space, the owner allowed us to come in there and have breaking ciphers for about 5 minutes.
Wow.
5 minutes became 10, 10 became 20, 20 became an hour. And
Wow.
that's how more kids started to learn about us being there. More breakers came through.
Yes.
Then we were allowed to play our hip hop music in the club. So you would have like your punk rock thrashing session for the punk rockers.
Yeah.
Then you'd have a breaking cypher for the breakers. And then
Okay.
what was known as the boogie burners. That is the roots of freestyle hip hop dances and your funk and house dances. They were called the boogie burners back then. So if you trace your history as a dancer and you're not a breaker, and you're doing house and all these different styles in Cape Town, you can trace it back to the boogie burners.
Wow.
Like the Brass Monkeys, Dynamics, the Freaks, and there's a list of it's endless. It's endless. So there were sessions for all these dancers, and the vibe and the energy was just phenomenal. Remember, there was no internet.
No phones, nothing.
So when you dropped the song, that song sounded so fresh.
Wow.
Because you went to the place for the vibe, the energy, and also to listen to the new music. You can listen to music that nobody played. Radio only started playing hip hop music about 10, 12 years later. We were deep into it already. A club like that didn't even exist in Joburg yet. So Cape Town, in that regard, was way in advance. So urban youth culture was ahead of anything else. I firmly believe on the African continent through that space. So thesis shut down, and then the venue relocated to a Short Market Street, and then became the base. So these places were the hub for dancing, for music, for hip hop culture, for everything to do with, I would say, with urban youth culture during the time, and also with how youth interact and how youth survive within the sphere of apartheid and the transition. So in 1986, the white dancer in our crew invites me to the UK for a month. So I spend a month in the UK. And I get to see how hip hop is being practiced and the clubs and all of that.
In that side of the world.
I came back with a whole lot of tapes and a whole lot of new music. And then, because of my experience in the UK and visiting pirate radio stations and seeing how things are happening, I bring over a concept called the 24-hour jam. So we used to run 24-hour club sessions.
So like literally 24 hours.
24 hours. You practically sleep, you wake up dancing. Wherever you find a spot to sleep, you wake up and the music don't stop.
That's
and that was the vibe and the energy. So the thesis becomes the base. And that was the birth of Prophets of the City, the birth of Black Noise, the birth of Brasse Vannie Kaap, Jambi, Sisters in Command, Third Base, the list goes on and on and on. So that was the beginning stages of POC. And during that time, the music was very political and it was very, very militant as well. Hence Prophets of the City's political and social conscious music that was released.
So because of how bold you were and how directly you were, what was the thing that gave you the courage to speak out so directly?
The thing that gave us the courage to speak out was the fact that we were affected directly by everything. Remember, we had these military platoons on our schools that would harass us. They would drag us out of the class, beat us up, throw us into the Caspers. They would drag our teachers out. Our areas were burning, literally burning. South Africa, we have challenges now, but during that time it was very, very, very bad and very dangerous. A lot of our people, anybody with a political opinion, was either thrown in jail or assassinated, or you had to leave the country. So we felt very strongly about that as well. And because it affected us directly, and also the music we were listening to was kind of like the fuel and the inspiration to talk about what we were experiencing in our country and in our city during that time as well. And also the need and the will to survive as well. For us it was very important. We didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. It's just things are happening around you. It's affecting you. You have a platform and an opportunity to speak and express yourself, and we use that.
Exactly, that's powerful. It really is, because you sort of started a movement. In that time, you created something for the culture, something for our people to have a voice, to have a platform.
Speaking about the movement, sorry to cut you off there, we had something called the African Hip Hop Movement.
Okay.
that came out of all of that.
Out of POC, Black
No,
Noise.
before POC.
Before POC.
Before POC. So
Wow.
this was the hip hop community coming together and deciding to do something proactive, productive, and something conscious.
Yeah.
And also realizing that American hip hop was starting to pay attention and respect to the African heritage, roots and culture.
Yes.
And realize that we in Africa, we are born and raised in Africa. So yes, we listen to the American hip hop music, but we are right here. So we need to form our own African hip hop movement and need to bring all our friends, communities together and see how we can work this thing out through a degree of consciousness.
Beautiful.
And it all happened organic. We were all finding our way. There was no guidebooks.
No strategy.
There was no teachers. There was no literature. There was no mentors. Nothing. We had to go out there practically find our own way because it was necessary to do so at the time. And that picture that you're painting, it's so vastly different to what it's now, what life is like now in our culture. You guys sort of like paved the way for us in the dance community, in the, let's say, creative scene, hip hop and that jazz together. So I think that's like huge respect to you, to everyone that was part of this, that made it what it is today. So just to touch back on you mentioning you went overseas and you gained a lot of experience there, and I feel like you did touch on this. What do you think did it teach you about South Africa's hip hop's place in the world, which you did briefly touch on, but if you could maybe elaborate more on that. Yeah, going overseas made me realize that we're a lot after the war as well. So we're going back to 1986 right now, and that experience, that was my first time traveling abroad. And it was mind-blowing for me, coming from Mitchell's Plain and the Cape Flats and these areas. I never ever thought that they would come, that I'll jump on a plane and go to the UK of all places. And when you see so many things and you meet people that you look up to, it leaves an impression on you as well. So coming back, yes, we brought back the music, we did the 24-hour jams, we were then fueled, motivated, and we were really amped. We were on the streets, we were doing graffiti all over Cape Town. We used to do what was known as bombing the trains, tagging up the trains and all of those types of things. So this whole hip-hop culture, gave us a lot of fuel.
Yes.
And apart from me doing that, there was more tips floating around and more music and more information coming into the scene as well. So more people became, I would say, proactive in that sense, which helped to kind of build up this whole hip-hop movement at the time. And once again, you don't really realize where this journey is going to take you because you're running on emotion all the time. So one thing leads to another, to have knock-on effects.
Yes.
And this is practically how everything starts spreading. And you encounter a lot of people on the journey as well, and all of them become contributors. So at the end of the day, it was a community, it was a collective that helped to build the culture.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. So after POC, you made another bold move and you pushed. So what pushed you to explore solo work? And what pushed you to start Brasse Vannie Kaap?
Sure. In order to understand the POC comes from, we just have to go back very quickly.
Okay.
So just to touch on to your previous question as well, going overseas, we start to realize what we have to offer the world.
Yes.
And that started to shine through POC. So before POC happens, I entered the South African National DMC DJ Championships. I win the championship as an underdog, as a young kid.
Amazing.
Coming out of nowhere.
Sure.
This then leads to a friend that was one of the best battle rappers in the matinee club called Shaheen. His dad has a recording studio. I hustle him, I give him a demo tape, he speaks to his dad and manager becomes interested in what they've just heard.
Yeah.
I spent time with Shaheen in the recording studio, and we are busy recording demos in that space.
Yeah.
That becomes the birth of POC. So I bring in members from our breaking crew into POC, such as Jasno and Hoja and Ramon.
Yeah.
So there was City Kids, which was our first breaking crew.
Yeah.
So all the battles and that, we make friends in Cape Town City.
Yeah.
Members of other crews come in, join the City Kids. The City Kids expand and becomes Elastic Rockers.
Okay.
DJ Ready D wins his first national championship, which leads to the birth of POC.
Okay.
POC is happening between DJ Ready D and Shaheen, then Ramon and Jasmo, and Hoja comes in. So that is where POC start to expand.
Okay.
We record our first album, and we then record the first Afrikaans hip-hop song ever in this country. So POC lays the foundation for Afrikaans hip-hop. They lay the foundation for hip-hop jazz, hip-hop Afro-jazz. They lay the foundation for hip-hop and Guma music being fused. And hip-hop and Mbatanga music. So that was the pop sound, the African pop sound at the time. So we incorporated a lot of African elements into our music. Getting back to your question, that's what we realized. The world needed POC. And that's how we ended up touring the world. So our first international tour was with Jonathan Butler and Joan Armatrading. In Swaziland, we performed to 30,000 people. Shortly after that, we leave the country and we go to the Montreux Jazz Festival to perform with Quincy Jones and Kaifa Semenya in Switzerland. And from there, one thing leads to another. POC blows up and becomes the biggest thing that South Africa's ever seen.
My goodness.
And POC becomes banned by the time they reach their third album.
We become banned?
Yes.
What?
I'm skipping through a timeline, so people can have to go and do a lot of research if you want to get to the bottom of what I'm saying.
Yes.
POC then does a tour called the Vote Education Tour. So leading up to our first democracy and leading up to Nelson Mandela coming out of prison, POC is touring. POC records a highly charged social and political album called The Age of Truth. And that was South Africa at its most violent time because there's a transition taking place. Lots of people are being assassinated. Members within POC arm themselves to the teeth with the biggest and the smallest and the most dangerous guns in case we get stopped and there's an attempt on our lives. We're touring. We end up in a place called Bophuthatswana. We record an album there, and we could have lost our lives in Bophuthatswana. While we were touring, Mr. Fat, Ali, and members of other hip-hop crews became our friends, and we brought them on board as our crew, as our road crew, our engineers, our roadies, our drivers, and all of that. Long story short, POC becomes the only hip-hop group to perform at two presidents' inaugurations. POC performed at Nelson Mandela's inauguration. Ironically, they performed at Thabo Mbeki's inauguration.
My goodness.
So there's a lot of things to take from that and a lot to celebrate as well. Of course. That experience. POC moves to the UK. Based in UK, POC story, UK, Europe, Scandinavia, they become huge over there because they were banned in South Africa. Just during the time when Mandela came out and when we performed at his inauguration, that was our last big event in South Africa. Then the idea comes to mind to write more Afrikaans hip-hop music. In London, I write a song called FNTB, Chords, Listens, Toys, Beatles. We have a moment to come home as part of our holiday, so to say, to come and visit our family again. I come home with that idea in my head and I reach out to Mr. Fat, may his soul rest in peace, to tell him, Mr. Fat, ek het die nummer geskryf met Bro Fords, Listens, Toys, and the Beatles. And I knew the song won't work in POC because we were more political and we were more in your face with our messaging. Mr. Fat agrees, kyk my broer, dis 'n lekker gedagte en dan was ek kyk ek en James moet Brasse man. Ons het 'n hele klomp Brasse hier in die Kaap. Ons kan ons vra en Fat sê nee, ons vra die ander bra. Hammer was a rapper and a producer for another group. So the three of us come together En dat tou vet, kyk jy my broer, ek is klaar DJ vir POC, I don't want to be a DJ for Brasse Vannie Kaap. Who else do you ask? Then there's another lady that lives in Lentegeur, who's a genius, a young boy, and he goes by the name of Inver. He becomes known as the great legendary DJ E20. And through that was the birth of Brasse Vannie Kaap. That was the four. Then there was a crew that blew up from Beacon Valley known as the Azanian B-Boys. And members from the Azanian B-Boys become the breakers for Brasse Vannie Kaap there. Brasse Vannie Kaap records the first album, they blow up, they become big. Just as POC did in the country. And this is all Afrikaans hip-hop music. And Brasse Vannie Kaap, as you've seen in the documentary, for people that did, the story is there. Members fall away, new members come. And this is when members of the Crazy Hip Squad started to join Brasse Vannie Kaap. Some of the Azanian B-Boys remain and some left. And that was the evolution and that was the growth of Brasse Vannie Kaap. Out of Brasse Vannie Kaap comes the Cape Town's Beat Bangers. The biggest DJ, production, turntablist crew. And they're still running today after all those years. And then we set up the Scratch Lab, which becomes the DJ, the Beat Bangers DJ Academy. That's now have a legacy of almost 22 years, and the academy still runs today.
Beautiful. Wow.
So that's part of my story. And I must tell you, my wife was one of the first generation Beagles in the 80s.
Excuse me?
And an MC, and a DJ.
And a DJ.
And a DJ.
OMG. Wow.
So, and she's now my boss and manager.
Period. Period.
That's why I can be cool.
Yeah, that's why you
get the coolest person in the world.
That's it.
Me and giving
you the shine.
Yeah.
Wow, it's absolutely stunning. I didn't know that. That's stunning.
She comes from the first, not just the first generation of Beagles, but also the first generation of female rappers in our country as well. A group of sisters in the North.
So is that how you kind of met one another in that
Within
scene,
the culture,
in the culture? That's brilliant. I'm in awe of just listening to you speak about your journey and how you got to where you are and the things that you went through. And also just to understand, for me, it's like understanding now the origin of the culture, how the culture came to be, for Cape Town specifically, South Africa specifically. And for me, I only started getting into hip-hop culture like around before last year, where I started networking more with other dancers, like just going to cyphers, going to events and chilling with people. And that is how I was also inspired. I was like, whoa, I like this. It feels like family. It feels like, this is what it feels like. And that is how I started just doing more research and looking up more videos and understanding the origins of hip-hop and all that. So listening to you speak about how it started for you here and the contributions of everyone involved is just super inspiring. I was just like, wow, it's beautiful. But when did you go solo?
I would say I've always been solo. I just fitted very well into a group dynamic. I contributed to the ideas and the formation and all of that. And thankfully, a lot of the people that we encountered were all people that had the acumen, and they all had solo projects running as well.
Yes.
So a lot of the members that are still proactive are doing things in a solo space.
Yes.
So as POC was running and BBK was running at the same time, Grandmaster ADG was running as well. So then I entered my second DJ championship as well within the framework of POC.
Yeah.
And then I won the champion. Between that, I won other championships and gained other accolades, which boosted my profile as a DJ and a solo performer. And then I won my third and fourth DMC championships as well as Brasse Vannie Kaap was happening.
Wow.
So apart from POC and BBK, there was also huge interest in this freaking guy that is just killing everything and everybody and there wasn't many people doing what I was doing, and I think I developed a very unique style of DJing for that time and that era.
Wow.
And that sparked a lot of interest, and that got me onto television, it got me TV shows, it got me traveling the world as a solo performer as well. So at certain times I had to do a POC show,
Yeah.
and then go do a reality show, and then do a BVK show, and then POC and BVK at the same time.
Yeah.
And you're in there, and I reached a point where I couldn't be in three places at the same time.
Yes.
And I had to make a tough decision and also tell BVK specifically because POC started to go quiet because the members started getting involved in other projects.
Okay.
Then BVK became the focus point, and things were so hectic because BVK was at a growth point and they were like really, really touring and doing huge things, not just in South Africa, but across our borders.
Yes.
And the same thing was happening to DJ / Grandmaster ADD as well.
Sure.
Then I have a word with Mr. Fat and tell him, take him in room. We're going to have to make another plan. Yes. Just it is what it is.
Yes.
The universe has blessed us with these opportunities.
Yes.
And thankfully, I mean, he's a reasonable guy. And this is how Carly Brown came into the picture, DJ Azul, and some other members to fill the gaps. But I mean, the ethic, the intent, and everything we set out to do, that still carried on.
Do you think that sort of connection, that understanding you guys had with one another, came from a place that you guys all experienced the same thing? So you understand each other 100%.
Absolutely. And I mean, we were all under the umbrella of hip hop culture, not just the music, the culture.
Yes.
So when we dig deep into the culture and you pay attention to what we regard in South Africa as hip hop's fifth element, which is knowledge of self.
Yes.
And you really start to understand what knowledge of self is all about, and you work towards it, because knowledge of self, first and foremost, is to work on you as an individual.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting for young people from Cape Town City and the Cape Flats, bearing in mind our history, our culture, and our heritage, and what was done to us.
Yeah.
So it comes with a lot of challenges, it comes with a lot of trauma, but it comes with a lot of celebration as well. And then it comes with the raw talent. So you have a lot to deal with. So knowledge of self at its root and at its essence encourages us to try and work through those things as well. And then there's a lot of ego. Because hip hop, if not taught correctly, your ego can get the better of you as well. Because remember, we battling when it comes to DJing, battling when we're dancing, battling when you're on the mic. You know, you've got battle rap. You're battling when you're throwing down wild style pieces on the wall and all of that. And the end was no slimmer as the other piece. Ek het meer knowledge as Jay, but Jay, you know, so the ego creates the conflict. But thankfully, a lot of the people within our orbit didn't come with that agenda.
Wow.
And this is how we could form the relationships and build the bonds. Not to say that everything was perfect. We had arguments, we had fighting, and all of those things, but everybody knew the big picture was for this thing to move, to grow, because if this thing blows up, we blow up and we get opportunities out of that as well.
Exactly. Ego is a big thing. And once we put it out of the way, we can always achieve what you have achieved. You know, a bigger picture. We all gonna eat together when we get to the top. You know, there's always enough for everyone. So, with all that, what is some key lesson that stuck with you?
I would say the key lesson is, speaking from a hip hop perspective, work on your skills.
Yes, okay.
Hip hop culture encourages you as an individual to go and push the boundaries above and beyond what's intended to be.
Wow.
It pushes you as an individual as well, because remember, if you want to shine and you want to stand out in hip hop, you got to come with that individual form of expression, and you got to come with skills. So no use you got a big mouth, but you can't back it up.
Yeah.
But if you're really invested in that and you're working on the skill, whether you're a dancer, a rapper, whatever the case may be, and you're working on that and you're connecting with like-minded people, you are growing as an individual.
100%.
So that element of knowledge of self starts to kick in by default. So if you grow as an artist, it means you're growing as a human being. If you're growing as a human being, you're putting your ego to rest, you're silencing it. Remember, we need ego as human beings. That's the reason why it was given to us. But if you grow as a human being, it means you are growing, number one, to benefit yourself. Because you are an individual. Yes, some of us have parents, but the parents are not there with you. 24/7, so you
Right.
have to find your own way in the world.
Right.
So hip hop teaches us to grow within that landscape and that way of thinking. So if you are growing as a human being, it means that you are growing for yourself and you are growing and becoming a productive member of society.
100%.
And if you are growing and you become successful and you have learned to understand the ethic and the big picture,
Right.
it means that you will then be able to put it back into your community. So just imagine there's 10,000 of us within hip hop that have the same mentality. We all can go together.
Yes.
Just imagine how fast and how good and how successful our people will be.
Yes.
And remember one thing, the reason why we have so much challenges and problems and people dying and so much shooting in our communities, the Cape Flats, Mitchell's Plain, and all these things, it is all by design. There's a system, I don't want to point fingers,
Yes.
You can do your research and education. It is designed since the days of apartheid for us as people of color to die at an early age. And if they keep us stupid and they keep us ignorant, they make money off our pain, suffering, and deaths. So if we constantly fight and argue and we're at each other's throat, somebody else is making money off it. Because we become drama queens and drama kings and on social media. People are watching the videos, you're getting the views and the likes, but you're not making the money. The company that owns the platform is making the money.
Yes.
Because the algorithm is pushing the drama. So ignorance sells, and hip hop is a counter towards that. And that is some of the lessons that we need to learn. We are super human beings, we are super people. In Cape Town, on the Cape Flats, if you are a person of the color, the enemy understands that we are spiritual, powerful people.
Exactly.
That's why.
That's why the fight is there, yes.
100%.
You know what it's giving? It's reminding me of Squid Game. Have you seen Squid Game? Yeah. The way you explain the system is pretty much exactly like how Squid Game is playing out. There's people who are taking gratification in in the violence, because they're benefiting at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So, Sensei, but thank you for the advice. For those, it's advice and lessons that you shared, that you've learned. So let's talk about let's talk about DJ culture and dance.
Sure.
So this is all embedded in you. You know, this is where it started with you.
To cover that.
So DJs and dancers, they're always in sync. You know, at all times, right? So from your perspective, how do they actually connect?
I think that's a very straightforward question, and I think it's quite obvious though. If you go into culture, and once again I want to speak from hip hop culture specifically, because and I want to speak from my personal sort of perspective, because people have different realities and they see the world and view things differently.
Yeah.
So for me, the way that I've been educated within hip hop culture and what I've seen, music, whether it is played through a turntable or a band or somebody playing percussive music, you're creating rhythm and putting out energy into the world that will naturally move a person physically or emotionally or spiritually.
Yeah.
So within hip hop culture, just to give you some context very quickly, how the culture sort of came together, not birthed really, but how it was pioneered was the fact that DJs used to play this really cool funk, soul, jazz, reggae, soca, all these different sounds from 50s, 60s, and 70s in the Bronx in New York City. I'm going to fast forward through the timeline. The DJs managed to find a way to take one song and extend it on two turntables to create a repetitive part of the song. The dancers of that era used to come to these park jams and the parties because they liked what they heard. And the DJs started to realize that these dancers love the part with only the drums and the bass is playing, or maybe just the drums. Then DJs like Grandmaster, Flash, and Africa Bambaataa, and these guys managed to find a way to loop only the drums. And in music, it's known as the break of the song.
Okay.
And this is when the B-boys and the B-girls like the Rocksteady Crew, New York City Breakers, and so many others used to jam because they used to find, flip, the break is where we throw down.
Yeah.
Hence the term, be boy, be girl, break boy, break girl, comes because of the DJ found a way to loop it and to give them the
Period.
dance.
Wow. Hey.
So that is the natural connection between the hip hop
Hey.
DJ and the dancers.
Wow.
So as things progress and the way people produce music and the amount of music getting put out into the world, things of course change.
Yeah.
And there's so many different dance styles that now influences the way we dance, not just within hip hop.
Yes.
And if you look at hip hop music, the rhythm, the culture, the dance also influences Afro, Amapiano, house, and all of that, and vice versa.
Yes.
And hip hop was influenced by many different genres and styles. African dancing, gymnastics, capoeira from Brazil is in the mix over there. You're looking at artists like Michael Jackson, James Brown, was Prince, the list goes on and on and on. And then there's so many other figures that you can track where hip hop comes from, where the hip hop style of dance and breaking comes from. And you can trace it all the way back to the 20s, the 30s, and it even surpasses that as well. Because now there's information and videos coming up where tribes were actually breaking in other parts of Africa that were doing like literally physical breaking moves as well. And then when we look at South Africa and how we're doing all these different dances and this house dances and all of this, we trace it back to real dance, Pansula, real dance, and real dance come from the Khoi Khoi and the San. So the way we dance have a history and a heritage that you can't put a date to. So it goes back thousands of years. So that is just a little overview.
And the only thing that happened was that it just evolved over time. That's all that happened.
It's always going to evolve and it's always going to come back. Because there's only so much you can do.
True, very true. And then when you're building a set, now when you're on the decks and all that jazz, do you ever think about how people will move and what will the energy be like on the floor? Do you ever think about that when you're building a set?
In fact, I'm building 2 sets for today, 2 completely different parties.
Okay.
So you do think about how people's going to move. And, as dance and everything else evolves, so does DJing as well.
Yeah.
And for someone like myself, I think I'm very creative and very daring as well. I take a lot of risks and chances with how I play and what I do. And sometimes you have to be cognizant of how people might respond to what you do. And as an example, the first event that we are doing, we are playing the opening set. Okay. Usually people book me to play the primetime set.
Okay.
The main set. And the idea is you guys are not allowed to come with your hip hop music and a hip hop style. Yes, it can be influenced by that, but this is the nature of the event. We want to keep it soulful.
Okay.
We want new R&B, new disco. New
so they
funk,
give you a brief.
As in you, that is the style.
Okay.
And so this is kind of like the new soul sound that is going on, neo soul and all of that.
Yes.
So this is kind of where the music's at. So now you have to switch gears within your head and how you're going to prep that. And my brain is telling me, yes, you'll get the music, the sound, and the texture, but I don't want to alienate my audience. And if it's a new audience, I still want a part of me in the set.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking and I'm prepping around that as well. And then tonight, I'm playing a vinyl-only set. And I've only played vinyl, a full set, probably about 12 years ago.
Whoa.
So now I have to think about all of those dynamics and my brain needs to switch.
Yes.
Because playing vinyl, you need a very, very different approach to that.
I see.
And then I end up at an event, which is a corporate event where people are doing an award ceremony. I just came from one of those in Sun City. It's a very different audience. It's a diverse audience. It's people that's not into hip hop. 70% of them don't know Grandmaster LED.
Yeah.
They're white, they're black, they're colored, they come from different parts of the world. So now you have to think about how you're going to prep for such an audience. So I find myself in different places and spaces and different cultures and challenges, environments all the time.
Yeah.
So those are the things you constantly have to think about. And I'm always prepping. Even if I don't do a gig and I know I only got a gig that's coming in a month, which is a big one, I prep now already.
Yes.
As an example, There's talks of booking me for a gig in September.
Uh-huh.
The minute I walked out of the client's office and I got home, I started prepping.
Started prepping. I mean, it makes sense because it's a lot that goes into building a set, so you gotta be prepared.
Correct.
And also now you gotta like you said, switch gears because it's different sort of like audiences that you have to cater to, but also have to keep a part of yourself
100%.
in every set.
100%.
So that's skill.
Yeah, so people will dance and have fun and whatever, but all the work, the hours, the minutes, the time, the sacrifice, and all of that happens behind the scenes.
Wow.
So usually when people are taking and they cut twist and a turn and they're coiling on their pillows at 2, 3 in the morning,
up at night.
That is when we are busy prepping.
So I had the live show of country dance last year at November, and we had DJ Ready and DJ Easy on the decks. DJ Easy is strict.
Yes.
I'm telling you, he's strict. He says the music, because obviously I get the music from the artist and then I have to take it over to the DJ.
Yes.
DJ's like, that music needs to be in this time, this day, that's cut-off time. And I'm like, you are strict and I'm loving it because it's about respecting people's time, number one, and knowing and understanding that it takes time to actually prep for what the event is all about.
Correct.
So, big ups to DJ Easy, respect. So, why do you think that dance is such a powerful part of hip hop culture?
Dance is a powerful, essential part and connected to life itself. Hip hop culture is just one little small part of the journey.
I see.
So when people are moving, you are forming a form of expression.
Right.
And the same like anything else, if you're dancing with the right intent and you're dancing to express yourself, remember that when you're moving, the same as sound, you are releasing and you are transmitting energy.
Right.
Whether you're by yourself, the energy will bounce back.
Right.
And if you're dancing in front of an audience or with people, depending on your environment and your setting, you are sending that energy to an audience as well. And that's what will always be important as well. And when it comes to hip hop again, within hip hop, specifically breaking, the envelope is constantly being pushed. I mean, people are doing things now that there's no ways we could have comprehended in our era.
Yeah.
And when we started bringing in the second, third, and fourth generation dancers into our events and our crews, and you see the skill and the level to which they are, it just becomes mind-bending. And I'm like, holy Lord, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And that is the reason why hip-hop culture will always be in the forefront, because of those creative aspects and elements, not just within the dance, but everything else connected to hip-hop culture as well. And those are the things that keeps me curious and always keeps me fascinated, and that keeps me in the position of being a student. Always learning, observing, and trying to practice whenever, however possible as well.
Wow, it's beautiful. It's evolving. It's just like there's always something new to check out and to see and to learn. And I've seen you on the decks before. I've seen you undisputed.
Oh, okay.
I was like, ready there. You were up here, the legs was there. You were like, it was insanity. I think that was probably like the first time I got to experience you like live in your element.
Okay.
Doing your thing, performing, and I was like, yo, this guy is actually insane. It's
all those movements. It's heavily embedded and entrenched within hip hop and within. I always tell people I still move through life with a b-boy mentality.
Right.
So all those movements came out of breaking. There's parts that I don't do where I'm standing on my head and moving the fader with my feet upside down.
That's a crazy one.
Movements all came because I was a breaker. So I would stand on my head. I used to do windmills, head spins, and all of that type of stuff. So thankfully at this age, it still stays with me.
Wow.
And I try and bring that energy into the into the way I DJ when I do those types of demos as well.
Yeah.
So people can kind of see, the creative aspects
Of course.
of hip hop culture and also the art forms as well, and what
Yes.
the outputs will be if you kind of stick to your guns and you push the envelope. So what you saw, the whole thing with the legs and all of that, those are things I used to do in the 90s on turntables. It became so popular and people are always asking me to do those things. And in my head, it's like, oh, this is really cool. Because this routine took me across the world and I get to show different generations and share this routine that is so close to what I did in the 90s. There's a lot of evolution and a lot of things, improvements, but the base of that comes out of the championships that are won in the 90s. And I thought, like a classic song or classic routine or classic rap verse or whatever, that is like a classic vintage piece that only gets attached to Grandmaster Ready D.
Yes.
If you see somebody else doing it, you saw Grandmaster Ready D.
Het gekopie.
That type of thing. Yeah. And for me, it always works. Yeah. Wherever I go and whatever. And for me, that's always something that I love to share with different generations.
That's beautiful, man. Speaking of sharing, let's touch on community and empowerment. So you've been involved in outreach and upliftment for quite some time. What keeps you rooted in that work?
The thing that keeps me rooted within the work that we do in our communities is the fact that, I see what's going on in the world. Yeah. I see what's happening in our communities. And of course, I've got the experience.
Of course, yes.
Coming from Mitchell's Plain, coming from District 6, the challenges put upon us due to the previous apartheid government, we are still suffering because of what was done. There's still a huge amount of inequality, and if you look at how people are being oppressed and suppressed economically as well, you kind of realize and you can foresee what's going to come down the pipeline as well. And hip hop, once again, the fifth element, which is knowledge of self, has taught us to have a certain level of thinking and to become proactive. Yeah. So those are the things that have motivated us to kind of form a non-profit organization, which is called GCAP, the Great Cape Ambassadors Program. Okay. And through that, we work within community and specifically youth development. Yeah. So we use everything within hip hop culture, all the elements, and we use that as educational tools and mechanisms to help children within communities that have a huge disadvantage compared to so many others out there. Yeah.
And it's too much, communities like that. It's just too much.
But we're all contributors. So we hope that what we do will inspire somebody else because we've been inspired by somebody else doing the same in other communities. Yes. So we're just trying to do what we can with what we have at the times allowed or permitted, or which we are able to do so. And at the end of the day, we're all contributors to the big picture.
Yeah. And I mean, like now we have more resources than what you had in your era.
Yes.
And so by you doing what you do, you kind of like just plant the seed, take it from there, what you're going to do with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So can you share a moment from your community projects, any one of them that stuck with you or that really moved you?
Well, we are currently working in Claremont. We've been working up there for 5 years right now. I have produced a song for a group of kids within this community that we're working, the Strandlopers. And the thing that stands out for me is the fact that these kids are not rappers, they're not singers. Yeah. I produced the song, I wrote part of the lyrics, and then part of it was co-written by a producer and a very talented artist from the region, Fraser Jojo Barry. When we gave it to the kids, it didn't take long for them to get it. They got the flows, and the flows are not easy. The music is not easy to flow to, but these kids have the natural raw talent, and they're just locked in. They delivered. Wow. And all I can say is it's going to be crazy. It's just going to be
I can't
insane.
wait.
And I always tell people within the dance world,
yes,
I told them the answer lies within those types of communities, using Plainmouth as an example. The kids, when they're dancing, when we have Concrete Apostles come through and do the breaking and the dance workshops, these kids have the natural raw skill and talent that just blows my mind. Every time we work with those kids, and just children in general, it blows my mind. And I sit there and I tell my partner DJ Azul, just lock these children up in jail.
It's too much.
It'd be legal to have so much talent. We have to work with it for years. These kids put their hands on the decks, or they, rhyming, and they get it first time. And I'm like, okay. Then I just sit and I learn and I observe and I enjoy myself, and I know, I'm taking that flow. Oh, I'm remembering that. I'm putting that in. I'm like, they're discovering and they're having a good time and they're learning, and at the same time, that's how it goes as well. So those are some of the stand-up moments.
It's giving hidden gems. They're just there, raw talent.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's people like you that come and you're able to just give that platform. Just go for it and express yourselves. So, what role do you think hip hop plays now in empowering our youth now?
Hip hop had the same role to play as it did since day one. That is uplifting our communities, and everything that we spoke about the fifth element and the knowledge of some aspects of hip hop is still relevant today.
Yeah.
And it is still important now more than ever.
Wow.
Because there's so many people out there, due to ignorance and confusion and not understanding, that think they are putting out hip hop into the world.
Yeah.
But whatever that is, I don't have a name. It might sound a little bit like it's a part of hip hop culture, but it's not.
Yeah.
And they are practically, due to the ignorance, and we say this with the greatest of respect, I'm not trying to cut myself off from anybody, and social media specifically, you see so much negative energy, negative words, negative ways our communities are being portrayed and projected.
Yeah.
It's causing what is known as self-destruction. So hip-hop have a role to play to counter that, correct it, invite those kids, those young artists, whoever it might be, into the culture and come and learn about the culture. And hip-hop will always be a contributor and always be a force that will shine the light on humanity through the creative elements of this culture if practiced correctly. But you as the individual need to be prepared to receive and to give. And if that is not your intent, then you're not a part of hip-hop culture. What you're doing is something else. Even if you're able to do the best power moves, or the best rhythm, or you can do whatever it is, but if you're not locked into the fifth element and you're not cognizant and you're not educated about hip-hop culture, you're on the lonely island doing your own thing, disguised, or you think as hip-hop, but it's not. So you can spin, you can do the most gevaarlijk stuff, you can make the most money out of it, whatever the case may be, but if you don't have the integrity and all those components that is hip-hop culture, then whatever you're doing, it's your own thing. Big respect to you, cut on.
Yes.
You're able to benefit of it, but as far as hip-hop goes, that's not hip-hop.
Right. Because if you think about it, like when the culture started, even way back then, it was never about one person. It was about a community, creating or fostering a family unit through dance. So a one-man island, it's like you said, okay, fine, be it, do you, but this is the culture. And understand this is it, that's what it means.
Hip-hop, like life, can never be about one person. And one person can't represent the culture. We're all contributors, we're all students.
100%.
And we all have to humble ourselves to the culture. When we speak about culture, we're speaking about a movement that affects hundreds, thousands, and millions of people around the globe. So we're not that special to think it's all about us.
Right. So, if you could name one thing that you're most proud of in your career, what would it be?
My wife.
Yeah. Can you like a wife now? That's beautiful. Because she's the one. She's your girl. front woman.
She's the foundation. Sy druk die knopies.
Wow, it's
Sy sê
beautiful.
Eskom my lewe. Sy sit die krag af, sy sit die krag aan.
The best way to put it is that.
There we go.
What do you think the next wave of SA hip hop is gonna look like?
Oh wow, it's hard to predict. All I can do is attach a hope to it. I love where we are going in Cape Town specifically. Yes, we have a lot of phenomenal things taking place, and then we have a lot of challenges on the other end of the spectrum as well. I can't speak for the other cities, but I think there's more eyes on South Africa now.
Yeah.
There's more international interest, and also because of the internet and technology, we are able to put more music out at a quicker pace, and also communicate about the culture through these platforms as well. So from that standpoint, I think it's cool. I just want to throw back to Cape Town City. The thing that I really feel passionate about is the fact that we are now starting to reconnect and to connect to the First Nation history, culture, and heritage. And there's a lot of emphasis and talk around the Khoikhoi and the San sort of historical components as well.
Yes.
So we are constantly learning about that
Yes.
as we speak. And we are now able to be very comfortable speaking in our language and our dialect. You know, South Afrikaans, Rappels, or South Afrikaans, whatever.
Yeah.
Back in our era, you had to feel a certain way about it. You know, and people came for us. The prophets of the city dropped Tala flat in 1990. People came for us. And now today we can all be comfortable.
Just say what we...
Correct. Just lekker who we are in our language here.
Wonderful. And then lastly, Grandmaster Editi, what advice would you have for young creatives out there, whether they be a DJ, a dancer, or even producers? What will you say to them that will motivate them to keep focused and stay grounded?
Yeah, I mean, creativity, number one, is a gift from higher source, higher power. Remember that. When you are creating something, it is a process. Sometimes, it comes easy to the gifted ones, and most of us have to work very hard for it.
Yes.
But the fact is that you're out there and you understand the reason why you're doing it, the purpose, and also make sure that you consider or think about the intention. Why are you creating? Why are you doing this? And if you are doing it for the right reasons, it's going to be beautiful when it's out in the world. And you do have the power to make a huge impact if you remember everything that I've just said and where it truly comes from.
Yes.
And for me, it's very important for us to work on our skills and our creativity. It can become very, very difficult at times. And I know for a lot of creatives out there, not too many people understand our thinking as well. But for a lot of people, it's a bit weird. Don't understand what you're saying. You could dance this, why are you doing that? Why did you do that? Why does it sound like that?
Yeah.
So not everybody is going to like and agree
100%.
with what we are doing, saying, how we're moving and all that. Make peace with it. It's okay.
Yes.
But there are communities and there are people that get it.
Yes.
But we have to work on our creativity and we have to be constant. Look at all the advantages, look at the tools available, look at the internet. Not only are you able to create for yourself and for your friends and your community, you can now create for the world via those platforms as well.
Yeah.
So take advantage of all of those opportunities. And then lastly, think about what type of impression, what type of memory, and how would you love to be remembered one day when you're not there no more. And that is
your legacy,
where the intent comes, that legacy. What do you wish to leave behind as a creator? And lastly, connect with people, build your community, connect with different communities, and don't only be caught up in what you're doing. Try and learn from other people, other industries, other creators as well, because there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to receive, and there's a lot to give as a creator.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you, Grandmaster. I think that's food for the creatives.
Cool.
Just let them stay focused and help us to be grounded, because it gets tough.
Absolutely.
It definitely gets tough.
It doesn't get easy. People
No.
are creative, decided they will creative is there. Yeah.
There we go.
You're going to have to deal with it.
Exactly.
You must eat it.
I think when you connect with the right people and you constantly, like you say, network, to be around people, see what's doing what, and that is how you can start building your thing and how you can sort of broaden your own perspective and not just see one thing the whole time.
Absolutely.
When
you are creating at a deeper level and you are in a flow state, we all get there. When you are, soos hulle sê, just in 'n eie wêreld, the trance state, a flow state. That means that you are in a spiritual state.
Right.
So once you identify that is what it is, and you understand why you are creating.
Yes.
And when you are in that flow state, that is when you need to show the most gratitude, because it can be taken away from us in a heartbeat.
So true. So very true. So be grateful.
Absolutely.
Be grateful. Before we wrap up, let's switch things up quickly. Let's just quickly take a short turn.
Okay. Alright. We gaan Portland, Lindenville, Pontyville.
Ons gaan waar die wind ons vat.
Okay, cool. Good to use it.
So we're gonna do a quick fire round. Quick fire questions, right? So I'm gonna throw like questions your way, like easy ones, like rapid questions. So I'll throw them and then first thing that comes to your mind, I said it.
Alright.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So you ready? What's kind
of have a choice at the time.
Ready, D. That's right. Right though. One hip hop album you'd pick to a desert island.
Nocturnal. Okay. Skelter.
Vinyl, cassette, CD or digital? Pick your favorite.
Sorry, say again.
Vinyl, cassette, CD or digital? Pick your favorite one.
I'm going to go with vinyl.
Okay.
Although we are stuck in a digital world, we can't get out of it. And I think I'm fluent and fairly versed in DJing and using digital platforms.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with vinyl. Yeah.
Period. What's your go-to late night snack after a gig?
Chips.
Hot chips, like this.
Now after gig, the late night snack, we tried to go to a very popular store, and then I go fruit salad, I go for a smoothie. I tried to stay away from the pies and the
failed diet.
Correct, yeah. We had enough of that growing up. At this age, you can't take the risk. Remember your body can hit super fast.
Be body conscious.
Correct. So if you go for the failed diet, you're going to have a lot of nightmares when you get home. And you're not going to sleep later. So
super. A local artist you think people should be paying more attention to right now?
Bliksem Stra.
Bliksem? Stra.
Yes.
Afrikaans,
reggae artist, is kind of like the first, he's the pioneer. And interestingly enough, he comes from the Azanian Flames that used to be a part of Brasse Vannie Kaap.
Period. Connection.
So he's the pioneer of Afrikaans dancehall and reggae music.
Wow.
So I would say Bliksem, and if you want to put another one on the table, I'm going to say Youngster CPT.
Okay.
And then just to make things a little bit more interesting, we're going to go in Jerome Rex and the Cream Machine.
Gooi allemaal in daar.
And from Tafels, Klein Fortuin.
Lovely. If you were not in music, what would you be doing?
I'd be dead or in prison.
Prison?
Absolutely.
Oh yes, from way back when.
Correct.
Okay, I get you. Okay. That's it for quick fire questions. You survived.
Okay, cool.
You made it.
Side note, I would have probably been the stuntman, jumping out of buildings, out of aeroplanes, lighting myself on fire, jumping, doing weird stuff.
Cool.
I would have been the Cape Flats Mitchell's playing Jackie Chan.
That's on period. Yeah. And that's self-proclaimed or like?
In my next life, watch out, it's coming. The Cape Flats Jackie Chan is coming.
Great, thank you so much, DJ Ready D.
You're welcome.
I enjoyed, just listening and getting to know more. Because obviously I did my research.
Wow.
I did. But it's always when you actually hear someone talk about their real life experiences and how they were part of the evolution. It's just so like wow, you know. So what is next for you? Anything that we should be on the lookout for?
There's a lot on our plate. We are busy relaunching our DJ Academy.
Nice.
We found a phenomenal space in South River.
Nice.
That's quite cool. Ladies, be on the lookout for our all-female DJ workshops coming up.
Period.
We're putting a lot of time and energy in that. That's on that front. On the music side, there's a lot covering, and there's a lot of tours and shows taking place. And over the last year, I've become Youngster CPT's official tour DJ as well.
Nice.
So we're doing a lot of shows, especially on festivals together. So there's a lot of that coming. And then the other half of my life is the work that we do within a non-profit organization.
Yeah.
So we're putting a lot of time and energy to that. So all of that's coming.
Yeah.
And the big one's on its way in December. Back to Glenmont, back building our youth festival called Kids Music Fun.
Beautiful. Now, just one question. From all these things that you're doing, why create it yourself?
That's a good question. Look at it, my wife is closing her eyes. She's like, always reminding me, it's like, you're making me tired. I don't know.
Where do you find time? Just like,
through the woe and the grace, and I would say, through the mercy of the Most High.
I see. So you inner peace. You've got that inner peace. You've got
we try.
Flow state vibes.
We try to maintain inner peace.
Okay.
But the clock is ticking because there's stuff to do.
I see.
Yeah. And over the years, I've become good at multitasking as well.
Okay.
And I would say in all of this, helping make these things happen and move, we have a huge amount of phenomenal people in our ecosystem.
Beautiful.
That's got the same type of outlook on what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of support from a phenomenal team.
That's good.
And I work with people that is not just the hip hop music and culture and people that can give me another perspective and another viewpoint on what goes on. And people that can also keep all my ideas in check and in control. So I'm only working on 3 things. Because I know you got another 50 there, so you're all over the place.
Yeah.
And my head and my creative side is saying, this needs to happen now. I don't care at which pace it goes. It must just happen. Let's make it. And everybody else is like, it doesn't work like that. Choose. Do you want to do A, B, C, D, or E, or you want to start from the back, Bibles and
Yes.
Let's work on A, B, and C for now.
Take it in stages.
We work on that. If that rolls out and it becomes gevaarlijk and it's successful, when it becomes successful, it's going to give you the resources to continue. All the other good is going on in your head.
You need that perspective. People who can help you just see it from a different angle.
So that's where I now had to learn to give up certain things and delegate. Trust the process and trust in the people that I work with. Because there was a time where we were having our hands on everything.
It's a lot.
And I'm like,
it's overwhelming.
Definitely. But I'm there now.
Yes.
I'm in the point of my life where I'm trusting the process now.
Ik wil daar komen. Ik wil delegate. Want
it's gonna come.
Yeah. I'll get there.
Yeah. And I think you in what we would call the baton or your school phase.
Your school
phase, you're in that phase right now.
Yes.
So don't worry, you're gonna get there in due time. Quicker than you actually think it's gonna happen.
Conflict and that's all we gotta do. Final words for dancers.
Okay.
just last. We be finishing it.
There's more. So if you buy the cup, we will serve in the sachet.
Period.
That's not all. We get a plastic spoon. So
we have plastic spoons. Also, it's gekit. Fully kitted. Last thing, any final words that you have for dancers, creatives, to keep their heads on the right path. Last thing. People who still need to Kanje dance.
Yeah, sure. I think we pretty much summed up everything. And I mean, dance to your heart's content. Dance for yourself. Dance for your mother. Dance for your child. Dance for your home. Dance for your community. Dance for your creator. Whatever he, she, or it may be. Just dance. And dance for the right reasons and connect with the right people for the right reasons. Keep going. And once you adapt that way of thinking and operating and moving and dancing, you will then unlock everything else will then be revealed. Oh, and when you do dance, focus on the music, the timing, and the rhythm.
Right.
And don't be picky because a dancer is not a picky person. So even if I'm knocking on the table, dance, it's a rhythm. So dance. Don't be that guy, don't be that girl. It's alright. And when you go to a breaking competition, B-boys and B-girls back in the day didn't come down on the DJ because you played this song and that song among you and you caused drama.
Yeah.
You were dancer, dance. Even if I throw a country song in, dance.
Yeah.
Because that should challenge you as a dancer. You are a dancer. It's a rhythm, it's movement. You must say you're quiet. Now be quiet. Let me gooi jou 'n curveball. Hy het gooi sommer nou vir julle wys vir my jou lamoene. Ek gooi jou lekker boere number. Dance. Then we bring it back to breaking, we bring it to house, amapiano, dance. Don't be like that. Be lekker. Yeah.
Wait, is that song, youngster? You think you're clever and you're better? Just be lekker. Don't be extra. Okay, thank you once again, Grandmaster, for your time. I know you're a busy man, but you said, Kanje Dance, I'm here for you, and we appreciate you here. We thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you.
And then lastly, thank you to you for tuning into Kanje Dance. Remember, you can watch this on YouTube, Instagram, wherever. Oh, where can they follow you? Socials.
Everything is DJ Ready D, as in
TikTok,
DJ
alles.
READYD. Everything is the same. TikTok, X, Facebook, Insta, alles.
All that.
Everything is the same. Yeah.
Okay, and that is a wrap for Kanje Dance, brought to you by Creative Works Dance Studio. Until next time, stay inspired and keep dancing.